Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Chat with Mo. I'm your host, Mo the author, and tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest, Miss Tiesha N. Bryant. She's a speaker, author, coach, and a licensed master social worker. We're going to be discussing her book, her ministry, and her journey. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yes, it is our pleasure. We are glad to have you here with us. Finally, we're able to nip this thing in the bud.
Right.
So as usual, we always ask our guests, let us know about their salvation story. So before we dive into things about you, let us know about your walk with Christ. When did you decide to take that leap?
Wow. Well, for me, that started at a very, very early age. I grew up in the church. So actually learning about Christ, learning who Christ is and having a relationship with him came at the age of, I think I was 9, if I'm not mistaken. I was 9 years old, and it was during revival. And from that moment on, I began to grow. I must say initially it was a lot of religion, the rules and all the things that come along with it, but I am grateful for that religion because it gave me some type of foundation to actually build a relationship with Christ. And that actually ignited full force at the age of 13. It was no doubt in my mind that I had a relationship with God.
I love that, how you set that up there. Like you talked about at 9 years old, but then you have that foundation and a relationship, but you recognize you had religion more than you had relationship. And so now you say at 13. Now, I'm familiar with your story, but I want our listeners to know how that at 13, what as far as how things are going to transpire for you at 13 years old.
So at the age of 13, I was pregnant, and I remember being in the shower, praying, asking God, like, please don't let this be. I remember beating myself in the stomach. I remember taking medicine, drinking vinegar, all kinds of things to just, I didn't want it to be so, but God said it is so. And I'm not going to say around for my good because it was already made good. I trust the process. So forward to, my mom and everything finding out and just being on that journey, my relationship with God strengthened because that's where my strength comes from, being ridiculed, being, dismissed and looked at sideways. I had to have somebody or something besides my mom, my family. So it was that relationship that I began to pull on with Christ. Going into labor, I remember that's the only name I could call on. My mom reminded me that I was beating on the side of the bed and I was just saying, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And how I spoke that my delivery would go is the way it actually went, down to the person who actually delivered my child. Even when they say he was not available, God said it is so. So in that moment, that situation is where my relationship with God became key. It became, this is a relationship and not about not about the necessarily religion that I was brought up on.
Right. I love the fact that you said you were sitting there, you began to tarry. Like the old folk, they say tarry, tarry. You began to call on the name of the Lord, call on Jesus. And you began to tarry and tarry until like you saw something happen. Sometimes we are so impatient that we don't want to wait, We don't want to see God move. But the fact that you were still that young and you was able to trust God and know, trust God and know that he knew the plans, he knew what was best for you. So speaking of that, and you go through this phase here and you're like, all right, I'm a mom, and now it's like, okay, just trying to be a teen mom, at not like the typical 16 or 17, we used to teen mom early.
Right.
So, right. So during that journey, like, what obstacles did you have to face, and what did you overcome, that early? I've had people say they went to alternative schools, which they had back in the day, but sometimes they don't have that now. But what options did you have?
Well, growing up in a area that lacked many opportunities, I didn't have an opportunity to go to an alternative school. So I actually went to school. I went to regular school. I remember I was in 8th grade. It was spring, so we were getting ready to graduate from 8th grade and go into the summertime. And the stares from the parents, because by this time I actually had a stomach. You could actually see that I was pregnant the whole time.
Right. Right.
But the looks of the parents and the side conversations, the teachers, and things of that nature, it bothered me. That was a lot of things.
That was almost like adult bullying to me.
Oh,
you know?
Yes.
It's just ridiculous to me.
Yes, and to put the icing on the cake, it was more so, it was a family. It was a lot of family who said, it was family that said I didn't know who my child's father was. It was family that said I wouldn't graduate. But God, starting the fall semester, I was in the 9th grade. I was already ahead of my classes because I was an honor student. So I walked in high school hallways. Classes early, so they did make accommodations for me in that manner. But then I get looks from them. It's like, dang, like she's just in the 9th grade and she's pregnant, hearing those things. But I must say that there were so many who loved on me. There were so many who made sure that I was good, and for that, I am so grateful for that. And after I was able to stay home for 6 weeks. They actually picked my work up. The teacher would come, and then, like I said, I was an honor student. I was advanced, so a lot of the work I was still able to do. So I never missed a beat with my education during that time.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you guys to catch something, right? That Tiesha, our guest today, she was an honor student. She never missed a beat. Her education excelled in it. The fact that even so much that she didn't just finish high school, she went on to go to college and become a social worker, as a licensed one, which is different. But she even launched a business, which we're going to get into that here shortly. But I want you guys to pay attention to see her persistence and how the difference in having a support system really matters. Your support system, people that you surround yourself with, can either make you or break you. And I believe that to be true, because either they're pouring into you or they're draining you out. And sometimes we have so much that we point out to people and giving to people that we are drained. And so the fact that you were able to recognize that and see even now after your daughter's about to turn 18, right?
Right.
And she, look at that, but look at your legacy there. Look at your legacy, what you did. You are a success story, Tiesha. You are a success story. And your daughter is as well. And the fact that you chose, like, hey, I'm going to keep my child. You didn't choose to have an abortion or anything of that nature, where some people get discouraged and they do that, because of what's going on in their circumstances. I'm not a fan or advocate for abortion, but I love the fact that you just like, hey, me and my support system, we got this here. And now you are a speaker. You have your books. You launched your business, your therapist clinic, and you and your husband. You guys are doing great things. So let's talk about your first book. I know you have 2, I believe, but let's talk about the birthing of your first book.
Oh, wow. So my first book, Imperfectly Perfect, 3 Steps on the Parenthood Journey, it came about, I've always said I wanted to write a book, and I thought that book was going to be me telling my story, but God had other plans. It was during COVID. It was right before COVID, actually. And we was watching Scared Straight, and I saw how the parents was the issue, because they had a lot of past trauma and hurt, and they kind of spewed it into the relationship with the child. And maybe a week before that, it was a Facebook post going around where this mom and daughter had like this really big altercation because the mom was accusing the daughter of being with her man. The daughter was saying she didn't believe her. So it was a whole bunch of different dynamics. And when I had my nonprofit, I would do parenting classes, and I saw that the resources and the tools that was there was not what was needed. So I began to create and pull from different things, my experiences, education, and things of that nature. And I decided to put it in this particular book. And it was just like, I'm going to give you these 3 steps on your parenthood journey to enhance the person that you are, because before we are a parent, we are a person. So I focus on the parents in parenting, not so much of how to raise your child. It's time that, in that book, we go back, we dig deep, we do that work in order to show up as the imperfectly perfect parent. We must accept the fact that we are imperfectly perfect people and get rid of some things. And anytime we delete things out of our lives, it's like with a computer, we have to reboot and add good things. So
I like that.
Thank you. That's the gist of that book. And at the end, it's like a little bonus where everything that I learned as a parent from my mom, my dad, my aunts, things of that nature, I just put it in the bag. It's for us to self-reflect, for us to reflect on who we are as individuals. Who do our kids see us as? What's our foundation? Are we free from all of our stuff? What are we focusing on now? Because we're more than parents. So that's how that book was birthed. And now it is I've made it into a curriculum. I teach it. I teach from it.
Yes.
Really dope.
Yes. Now, you did that. You took your book, you made it into a curriculum, and so I know you have this conference that you do your conference every year, but the thing that the F them kids, like, where did you birth that from? Because it's a little bit different, but I love it. It's catchy, but sometimes parents do be like, they do. Not F them kids, but you know what I'm saying? It's just like, you know what, y'all getting on my nerves, because I was just talking about something. She was like, they just annoying me today. And I'm like, it's just funny, because these are my nieces and nephews, but she was like, they're getting on my nerves. They're just annoying me. All of them just can't do nothing without me. And then 1 minute, she missing them. So it's just that whole thing. Like, it was just funny.
That's exactly where that F them kids come from. After writing the book, and people were saying F them kids, but in a negative connotation, and it was maybe y'all all right. Maybe it's something with them F them kids, because with that, in my parenting, F stands for foundation. If we have a solid foundation, my foundation has been Christ, love, family. That's my foundation. A lot of us don't remember what our values are. A lot of us don't have values. So if we have a solid foundation, we're able to build on that foundation.
Right.
With that building, we have to change our focus. So the other F is focus. What are we focusing on? Let's focus on ourselves for just a moment, instead of focusing on our kids and our kids. Let's turn that lens back around. What are some of your goals, Mom and Dad? What are some things that you feel that you need to work on? How do you see yourself? How do you want your child to see you? So let's refocus that thing. And the final one is freedom. So many of us are not free. And when I mean free, I'm talking about free from that mama and dad and them hurt. I'm talking about free from that anxiety, that depression, free from low self-esteem, free from relationships, free from childhood hurt and trauma. All of those we carry along is baggage. We have to be free from it. And if we're not free from it, it seeps into that parent-child relationship the same way as any other relationship. So if we're not free, if we don't know this, if we don't have a solid foundation, then we can't show up as a parent, because we're not even showing up as a person. We're just showing up. And some of us don't even have the ability, the capability to show up. They're just there. They're existing and not living. So that's what F them kids mean.
I'm sorry, excuse me. All right, ladies, we'll be right back.